think there is a chance. It's probably fairly slim, but there is a chance, which is why I'm going out there.
It's particularly tragic when we don't know exactly what's happened and question marks still remain.
We're devastated by the disappearance of our beloved Gus.
Nearly 90 hours since he was last seen.
It's day 5 and a crucial clue has been found in the search for 4-year-old Gus.
Gus is a little 4-year-old, blonde, curly hair, smiling face. On Tuesday night, senior police spoke to Gus's family and prepared them for the possibility that we may not be able to find him alive. And this is based on scientific advice, professional advice that we get about how long it would be possible for a 4-year-old to survive in that terrain with the weather conditions and the clothing that he was wearing at the time. Whilst we've all been hoping for a miracle, that miracle was not eventuated. And in the last 48 hours, despite the professional advice, it being unlikely that Gus would have survived, we're confident that we've done absolutely everything we can to locate Gus within the search area. But despite our best efforts, we have not been able to locate him. And unfortunately, we are now having to scale back this search for Gus. We won't stop. We will continue to investigate and follow any lines of inquiry that we currently have.
The Australian outback is a place of wide horizons and long silences, a landscape that can feel both beautiful and unforgiving. It was into that silence that a 4-year-old boy named Gus Lamont vanished. The details of his disappearance have left a community and a nation asking the same cold questions. No footprints, no sounds, no clear explanation. How does a child disappear in open country with nowhere to hide? Why was the search called off and then restarted days later? Tonight we tell the story of what is known so far, and we ask you, please subscribe to the channel and drop your view in the comments below. Community reports and tips sometimes move an investigation forward. On the evening of September 27th, the homestead was quiet in the way remote places often are, light thinning, the day cooling, the land folding into color. Gus was last seen playing near a small pile of red sand in front of the house. His grandmother noticed he had not come in when called. She checked the shed, the paddock, and the water tank. Neighbors and family joined the search. By 8:30 p.m., police had been called and the response escalated rapidly. The search that followed was large and urgent. Police, state emergency crews, indigenous trackers, volunteers, helicopters and drones with infrared sensors all worked across the property. Divers were brought in to check dams and waterholes. Convoys came in each morning from a tiny town of around 60 people, rumbling down rough tracks with new teams and supplies. Officials logged square after square of terrain. The scale and method of the effort reflected the grim reality that, in remote places, time and methodical searching matter more than speed alone. Despite the broad response, the early search produced almost no physical traces. No clothing was found. No torn fabric snagged on fence wire. No consecutive trail of footprints leading away from the homestead. Trackers, who read the land for signs both big and small, reported something else that made them uneasy: little evidence of scavenger activity. In a region where animals and birds quickly turn a scene, the near absence of scavenging was noted as unusual and raised questions about timing, concealment, or rapid removal. A single piece of possible evidence briefly rekindled hope. About 500 meters from the house, searchers found a small footprint whose tread resembled the little boots Gus had been wearing. For a moment that footprint galvanized search teams and volunteers. But investigators later described it as inconclusive, saying they could not definitively link it to the boy. The way that impression was documented, who examined it, and whether casts were taken remain questions investigators will need to answer publicly if the evidence is to be used with confidence. After 8 days of intensive searching, police gathered the family and delivered a stark assessment. Given the heat, terrain, and lack of water, survival was unlikely. The next morning the official search was scaled back and many crews began to leave. The hum of helicopters and engines faded. The station returned to the wide quiet it had known before the alarms began. Still, Gus's grandmother refused to stop looking. She told reporters, "We're still looking for him." The family asked for privacy, Not to hide anything, but because exhaustion and grief require breathing space. Then something unexpected happened. 10 days after Gus disappeared, police quietly announced they would return to Oak Park Station and resume searching on the following Monday. No new public clue accompanied that announcement. No dramatic discovery was released at the time. Investigators offered only that they were going back. That decision prompted fresh questions. What changed during those 10 days? Had someone made a private report? Had new analysis of existing material suggested a place to recheck? Or was the move simply the cautious judgment of officers determined to search again with fresh eyes? Oak Park Station itself is part of the story. The property sits nearly 350 kilometers north of Adelaide, a long, remote stretch of country where lives are shaped by distance, weather, and generations of hard work. The Lamont and Murray families have deep ties to the land, known locally as hardworking and respected. Family details reported in the field include Gus's mother, Jessica Murray, grandparents named Josie and Shannon. The source wording about family relationships in some transcripts is unclear and should be verified, and an ex-partner, Joshua Lamont, who lives about 2 hours away in a small town called Blind North and has shared care arrangements. For neighbors and relatives, the disappearance of a bright-eyed, curious boy upends everyday routines and pulls the long memory of the land into a new and painful focus. With little to point to, theories began to circulate, each plausible in part and challenged by the facts in other ways. One theory is that Gus wandered off and succumbed to the elements. In extreme heat and scrubby terrain, a small child can quickly become disoriented and vulnerable. But survival experts say a child moving through country typically leaves a trail, multiple footprints, torn clothing, or disturbed vegetation. The absence of that trail weakens the wandering explanation. Another theory is accidental concealment, a fall into an old well, shaft, or hidden cavity. Rural Australia contains relics of past activity, and hidden hazards do exist. Search teams checked dams, waterholes, and many depressions, and no such openings were reported in the areas combed that first week. That does not completely rule out a concealed accident, but it means any such place would have to be in a spot that escaped initial detection. The possibility of human involvement is the most alarming. Abduction would explain how a child might vanish without the expected environmental signs. But the isolation of the station also cuts against that explanation in obvious ways. No confirmed tire tracks, no verified eyewitnesses, and no surveillance footage have been publicly released to support an abduction narrative. Neighbors in remote communities often notice vehicles and strangers. The lack of such reports makes an abduction harder to corroborate, though not impossible. Beyond these theories, there is a modern, complicating factor: online misinformation. Social media quickly filled with speculation and unverified sightings. A fabricated, AI-generated image purporting to show Gus in a new setting spread to more than 24,000 people before investigators or fact-checkers debunked it. False leads of this kind are not trivial. They create emotional waves for the family, waste investigators' time, and distract volunteers who might otherwise be searching in promising areas. The family also faced public scrutiny and criticism for their behavior and the photos they shared, reminders that grief is often judged unfairly in public forums that expect quick answers and clear performances. While public activity lulled, police work continued. The Task Force Horizon team assigned to the investigation has kept the file active, quietly reviewing tips and revisiting leads. In missing person cases, progress can depend on patient, detailed work, re-examining initial notes, checking metadata on photos, searching dashcam archives, and following fresh tips. Small, specific pieces of information sometimes produce breakthroughs where broader speculation does not. For people who live near Ya and Oak Park, the disappearance remains a visible absence. At dusk, neighbors still pause to look toward the horizon. Toys or notes left at the homestead gate remind the community of a family's open wound. The search and its aftermath have reshaped daily life in a place where generations expected continuity. There are practical actions that can help investigations like this. Credible information is most useful when it is verifiable. Dashcam footage with clear timestamps, photos containing original metadata, eyewitness accounts with specific times and locations, or recordings that can be traced and authenticated. If you believe you have something of value, hand it directly to police rather than amplifying it on social media. That keeps evidence intact and helps investigators act quickly. There are also unanswered questions that deserve public clarity. Who exactly documented the footprint and how, whether casts or GPS-tagged photos were made? The precise coordinates and timing of the footprint discovery, what prompted the 10-day restart of searches, and the details of any drone, infrared, or satellite data reviewed by investigators. Verifying family relationships and correcting unclear or misreported family details in public accounts is also important, both out of accuracy and respect. This is a story of open country and of patients who must not be hurried. A family waiting, a community holding vigil, and officers working through details that may not be spectacular but can be decisive. The footprint found at 500 meters remains an inconclusive lead, the absence of other physical traces remains troubling, and the return to Oak Park 10 days after the disappearance remains a public question mark in terms of motive or new evidence. Task Force Horizon's ongoing work offers hope that careful follow-up might yet reveal something missed in the first sweep. If you have any credible information, a time-stamped photo, dashcam footage, or a reliable eyewitness recollection, please contact South Australia Police. Do not spread unverified images or rumors that could mislead others or slow the investigation. If you wish to support the family, a discreet, verified tip is far more useful than a public debate. Some mysteries end with answers. Others remain part of a landscape's memory. Gus Lamont's disappearance sits in that difficult in-between. A case that has left more questions than answers, a family that has not stopped searching, and a community that still hopes. The search is active. The questions are pressing. And the smallest verified detail could be the one that changes everything. If you know something, say it to the police. Every piece of verifiable information matters.